Hi, I'm Matthew Hillock, and today I'd like to show you how to access a canopy. What we're going to use today is we're going to use a leapfrog of lanyard and rope system to access a conifer. This is a great technique to use when the branches are not spanned too far apart and we're able to get at them with our arms. When the branches are close and in front of us, we can just step our way up the canopy. Once we get to the top, we're going to install a friction management device, install our main climbing line, and we're going to start to work the tree. All right, let's go. So the first thing that we want to do when we're arriving on a site where we're going to climb a tree and we're going to be working the canopy is we want to perform a tree and site inspection so that we can find any potential hazards or things that we're going to need to work around throughout the day. Our subject here today is a large tamarack tree. It's looking very nice. We're on a trail system where people could be walking through. I don't see any hydro lines up in the canopy and haven't seen any indication of gas lines or anything like that. I've got some blue flags underneath, which probably indicate a water line running through here. We're not going to be doing any subterranean work today, so that's not going to be an issue. So as I stand back and I look up into this canopy, I'm going to start listing things off that could be potential hazards or things that I'm going to need to take note of during my climb. I've got a loose branch, a hanger down here that could be knocked loose, that could fall on our head. I've got small pieces of deadwood and larger pieces of deadwood up within the canopy. I don't see any large cracks or splits. There's a dual stem leader up at the top, which could have some included bark in there. We'll explain what that means a little bit later. The tree does not have an aggressive lean. We want to consider that it's a windy day today. That's a factor that we want to keep in mind while we're doing our climb. If winds ever reach, well above 50 or into the 80-kilometer range, I don't think we want to be doing work aloft. Some things that we don't see are excessive cavities, fruiting bodies, no cabling, animal threats. It's very cold today, so we're not going to have to worry about wasps or bees, and we've ruled out the most important thing, which is hydro. This has been my outer canopy, outer perimeter inspection. I've listed at least 5 things that I see or don't see within the canopy, and now I'm going to move into my inner perimeter inspection to have a look at the trunk, the ground, and the inside of the canopy. I still don't see any hydro. My perspective of the canopy has changed a little bit. I want to still be looking for any of those risks which I listed before. I see a couple more hangers now that my perspective has changed. I've got a little closer to the canopy here. A few pieces of deadwood that as I'm climbing, I don't want to be tying in or grabbing onto those because I could pull those out. We've got a few cuts here from past work, so we know the tree's been worked on recently. I have a bit of a split in the main trunk. It only encompasses about 5 to 10% of the main diameter of the tree, so I don't think that's going to be a structural risk of any sort. We've got a little bit of a split here down at the root base. Again, very small in relation to the diameter of the tree. I don't think that's a risk. It's got a very nice root flare, a good taper coming into the ground, which tells me that it's probably going to be very stable. And I don't see any evidence of heaving ground. These strong winds today, if you ever see any ground heaving, that's evidence of root damage or root rot, and that's a huge red flag. We don't want to be climbing that tree. So all together, with all the points that I've listed from the outer perimeter and inner perimeter inspection of this tree, I think this tree is totally safe to climb, and we're ready to get into it. For this activity, we're of course going to need full PPE. We're going to need our climbing harness, lanyard, rope, along with a climbing system, which is going to be comprised of 2 carabiners, 1 eye-to-eye, and a micro pulley. And then of course, don't forget this, we need a ring-in-ring friction saver to install up top so that we can safely descend. Looked over all our stuff and made sure that it snaps and closes properly. So I start with my webbing straps that connect into my leg loops. I want to check for undue wear or nicks or burns, any chemical damage. I want to check the straps that connect to my main harness here, and most importantly, my rope bridge. I want to pull out these knots and make sure that there's no nicks or cuts or abrasion on any of these. These are all the soft points of my harness. Anything that's made of fiber, nylon, polyester. And then next we want to check all of our hards, which are the metal components of our harness. So my main attachment point ring is made of aluminum. I want to make sure that there's no cracks, burrs, or nicks. Any of those little metal burrs or imperfections could interface with the rope and abrade and cut it. The wear points on my D-rings are on the inside portion here. If too much of that aluminum is worn away, I want to retire it. When I'm checking my D-rings on the side portion here, I want to spin them around so that I can take a look at any of the aluminum that is buried inside the strap so that I can get a full 360 look at it. Next, I want to check my snaps and carabiners. These should all close completely every time that I pull back the gate. I want that spring mechanism to close all the way into the nose. And when I cycle it, I want to cycle once all the way back, twice in the middle, and 3 times very, very close. That looks good. Again, with our hards, we're going to be looking for undue wear on the inside belly, or nicks, cracks, or burrs. Micro pulleys should be spun to make sure that they are working properly. And one of the main wear points on a micro pulley is going to be inside these cheek plates. Open those up and have a look inside. Make sure that too much of that aluminum isn't worn away. So we've inspected our micro pulleys, our carabiners, and all the soft components of our harness. We do the same thing with our lanyard, eye-to-eyes, and ropes. And the last thing is we want to check these buckles and snaps to make sure that when they clip in, they hold. And the way we test that is we put a bit of pressure to pull it apart, push one side, push the other side, and then push both together. They should only come undone when you push both together. There's a snap for my belly, and there's one on each leg. Here and here. Once we've confirmed that all this is in good shape and my harness is adjusted correctly, we're ready to get to climbing. Looks like the lowest branch is about 10 to 12 feet up. I think that's low enough that I can use a monkey fist to get up there. So I'm going to make some coils here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Each coil is about a foot. So 5 should get me to 10 feet. Wrap it through, take a bite so that I can swing and throw it. This is an open monkey I'm using here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to throw these coils along with it so that the rope doesn't drag on my rope bundle and pull it back down to the ground. Stand clear. There we go. This is a nice big branch here on a tamarack that I've got no fear of this coming out. It's well over 4 inches. So I'll set up my termination knot here. I'm going to use an anchor hitch. So 1, 2. Leave myself about 18 inches of slack. Come through the 2 loops. Capture that bridge. Cinch it up tight and make sure that my load line, the vertical line, is aligned along the spine, which is the strong side of the carabiner. I want to back this up with a double overhand stopper knot. And when I'm done, I want at least 4 inches of tail. So if it sticks out of my fist, we're good to go. That's my termination. Now we're going to tie our friction hitch. We're going to use, of course, the mighty Swabish. 1 wrap on the bottom, followed by 3 wraps on the top, 4 coil Swabish. Tie dress set. Spin those coils around to make sure that the legs are even length so we can clip in nicely. There we go. I'll just clip this in. Swing the cheek plates open on my micro pulley to install it on the rope below. And then spike both eyes and the micro pulley so the system all works together. Give that a little test. And then I'm actually going to switch the orientation of this carabiner so that my gates are opposed. I don't want my gates on the same side because they can interact with each other and pop open. I'll pull in my slack here, and I always want to give this a little test, low and slow. Just sit down into it, give it a little shock, make sure it holds my weight, and then test my knot. There we go. So we're descending, and when we go up and tend, it's holding my weight. Clip in. All right, we're ready to move our climbing system. This is a big ass trunk. I might hit your camera. There it is. I'm gonna make sure that I take this above the branches so I don't get pinned. That'll give me a clean line up the center of the tree. Clip in, tighten up. Only after I've confirmed that my top rope is tight, my bottom rope is loose, I'm going to disconnect that leg of rope, start moving up into the canopy. This is the most crucial step when you're using this technique. You don't want to go for a shock and drop into your harness, and you don't want to unclip the wrong side. 1, 2, 3. Oh! Almost had it all the way there. Okay, I'm gonna go over top of this fella here and back around. Holy. This is a Hulk. Oh. Okay, my top line is tight. Confirming that. I'm gonna loosen off the bottom line. I'm gonna tighten up my top line, my lanyard. Top line is tightened up. I'm almost out of range here. I'm right at my shoulders. That's as high as I want to be. And now, loosen off that bottom line, confirm that it's the top that's got me, then disconnect and carry on. I'm going to resist the urge to leave this hanging and clip it back to my belt before I make a move. Moving on up to the east side. Luckily, I've got some branches here which I can throw my climbing system. My main climbing system's going a little bit higher than I would take my lanyard, but that's okay because my climbing system can be as high as I need it. I'm not limited by having to clip in above or below my shoulders. I'm only limited by the amount of slack that I can leave, which is 2 to 3 feet. Okay, step on up here again, make a grab with my lanyard. Things are getting a little easier now because I can actually reach around the tree and touch hands on the far side. That's where this technique really shines. So, I'm at height and I'm going to install my friction saver over a reasonably sized branch, something over 4 inches. This is a ring and ring friction saver. One ring is smaller, one ring is larger. This is so when we uninstall this gear, when we take it out of the tree and we extract it, we're going to be able to tie a knot that passes through the big loop and grabs the little loop. Allow me to demonstration. Okay, so we're going to put this over the branch union. All right, my lanyard's nice and tight. It's got me secured in the tree. Now I'm going to take one side of my climbing system here, my termination side. I'm going to take off my carabiner, stow it on my belt, and then I'm going to take apart my knot, my triple fisherman, and I'm going to pass it through the little ring and then through the big ring. If I do the opposite, this isn't going to work. If I go this way, what's going to happen when I try and uninstall this, when I try and extract it, is it's just going to butt up against the small ring and it's not going to go anywhere. My rope's going to be pinned in the tree. So it's very, very crucial that you go little big every time. Okay? So once I've installed in here, I'll just give you a demonstration of it coming out from the ground. We'll show this step again later. We're going to attach a throw line to this end so we can pull it down in a safe and controlled manner. But when we pull this out of the tree, this is what's happening up top. I give it a little shake. You see that the knot has passed through the big ring and grabbed the little ring, and away you go. And you can pull this out remotely from the ground, which is a great feature. That's what we want. Okay, so I'm going to install this little big, and then I'm going to retie my termination knot. This could be an anchor hitch, a bunt line Beckett, or a triple fisherman. I'm going to choose a triple fisherman. 1, 2, 3. Finish off with my last coil here. Pull the tail through, tie dress set, cinch it up against my beaner. Got at least 4 inches of tail here. I'm going to take a nice good look at this because this is really important. This is the step that's probably the most dangerous, because when we clip back in here with a newly tied system, what we want to do is we want to weight that system before we take off our lanyard. So my lanyard's still tight, my climbing system's loose. I'm going to start letting out on my lanyard until my climbing system is tight. Without taking my lanyard off, I'm gonna weight my system, which means I'm gonna shock load it just like we did on the ground. I confirm that my knots are tied correctly and that my system is holding me, and only then am I gonna remove my lanyard and get ready for descent. I want you to verbalize this so everybody on the ground can hear it so that we know that you're climbing safely. I'm just gonna stow my extra rope and my lanyard so it doesn't get in my way. Preparing for descent is I'm gonna take the fall of my rope in my left hand and I'm gonna hold it. This is gonna be like a secondary brake. I can fold this around the backside of my butt and add a little extra friction. You might see belayers doing this. So grabbing the top of my friction hitch and compressing the top of these coils, I'm gonna start to descend. There we go. And as I descend, what I wanna do is I wanna look down below me to make sure I'm not gonna bump into anything, and I wanna follow my rope so that I don't end up doubling up on my way down and causing any problems. Nice and smooth, no need to bomb down. This is the easy part. Coming down, coming down. I'm gonna use my legs to push myself away from the trunk so I can stay nice and organized here. And just drift my way down to the ground. Unclip, and we're all done. So what we learned here today was how to inspect our gear, assess the site, assess the canopy of the tree, make sure it's safe to climb, and then we leapfrogged our climbing system up into the tree to install our friction saver and then safely descend back down to the ground. This is how we're going to work the canopy of a conifer or a smaller tree where the branches are tighter or closer together. Thanks for watching.